Hey guys, thank you for coming. If you want to watch my new videos, subscribe and hit the bell. Now let's start our story. All gave some gave all. That one always hits different. My name is Tyler. I'm from Portland, Oregon. I'd put off enlisting until I was 26, but the time had finally come. I wasn't trying to dodge it. I was healthy. I was able, and honestly, I felt like I owed it. Serving meant something to me and my family. No girlfriend at the time, but that's a whole other story. When I checked my enlistment papers, my report date was December 21st, 2012. The exact date the whole world was supposed to end according to the Mayan calendar. Everyone was losing their minds over it. Obviously nothing happened. I did my basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. After that I got my orders and was deployed to a forward operating base in Kunar province, Afghanistan. Remote, right on the border. The outpost had 6 guard posts with 2-hour rotations. After about a week of getting settled, I pulled my first guard shift at the far end post, the most exposed one. It was a 2 in the morning shift, pitch black out, no lights allowed for security reasons. Rifle up, eyes on the perimeter, every nerve on edge. High threat area. A Taliban ambush could come from anywhere at any moment. It was my first real shift, but the training kicked in. I knew exactly what to do if things went bad. About an hour into my first post, I noticed movement behind some rocks in the distance. I immediately raised my rifle and froze, waiting. It was dark. I needed to understand what I was looking at. Could have been a wild animal or a bag caught in the wind. No point raising an alarm over nothing. I kept my eyes fixed on the rocks. Then, out from behind them, a baby appeared. I couldn't believe my eyes. I blinked and looked again. A toddler, no older than 2. I lowered my rifle, but then raised it again. This could be a Taliban trick. But the little baby just moved from one rock to another, never once looking my way. After watching for a while, it disappeared behind a boulder and I lost sight of it. My concentration was broken. Now, if an attack came, my mind would flash to that baby. I'd hesitate, wondering if it was a fighter or a child. I was lost in these thoughts when the duty sergeant came up behind me and called out the password. I nearly jumped out of my skin, almost dropped my rifle from the fright. The sergeant was staring at me. I pulled myself together and gave the countersign. Son, we entrusted you with our lives. What kind of guard duty is this? Why were you so startled? He asked. If I told you what I just saw, you'd laugh at me, Sergeant. But I was genuinely scared. I said. What happened? He asked. I saw a small baby walking between the rocks and then disappear, I said. The sergeant gave me a look. A baby, he said. Yes, Sergeant, I said. He laughed. I know it sounds crazy, but I really saw it with my own eyes, I said. Alright, soldier, don't leave your post. Eyes on the horizon, finger on the trigger, he said. Yes, Sergeant, I said. After he left, I went back to scanning the area, but nothing moved. When my shift ended, I went to the barracks, changed and slept. Near dawn, I dreamed of that baby. I can't fully remember how, but I'm sure it was smiling at me. When I woke up, still shaken, I told myself it had just sunk into my subconscious. I didn't think much of the dream. That same night, I was assigned the 4 to 6 in the morning shift. Being the new guy, night shifts always fell to us. This post faced a hillside. The slope was within my surveillance zone. I was scanning the area the same as before when I suddenly started hearing a sound. A crying sound. Was I imagining it? I strained to listen. No, I wasn't imagining it. Could it be from last night's incident? The sound stopped for a bit, then started again. When the duty corporal came by for a check, I asked, "Corporal, do you hear anything?" "No sound," he said. "Alright, must be my ears ringing," I said. The corporal gave me a weird look. "You sure you're okay, man?" And walked off muttering. I still kept hearing the crying. Why was I the only one? At one point the sound got so intense I could barely stop myself from leaving my post. It continued all the way until I returned to the barracks. Even lying in bed trying to sleep, that crying echoed in my ears. I barely managed to drift off. The next morning, after formation, I brought it up with a few guys I was close to. "I've been hearing some strange sounds during night guard. You guys hear anything?" I asked. One of them said he'd heard something too. Footsteps, like someone moving through the terrain. "You think we're going crazy?" he asked. "What kind of sounds?" I asked. "Footsteps, like someone walking through the rocks," he said. I said, "A baby." They all turned and burst out laughing. "Man, we're out in the middle of nowhere." "What baby?" "The nearest village is 2.5 miles away." I was becoming a complete joke. First the sergeant, then the corporal, now my own buddies. They all thought I'd lost it, but I was genuinely seeing and hearing these things. After a 2-hour afternoon shift, I was relieved to see no night shift scheduled for me that evening. After dinner, I went to the barracks, showered, shaved, and fell into a comfortable sleep. But sometime in the middle of the night, a baby's crying started up from just outside the barracks. I got out of bed. In the hallway outside, I caught a glimpse of the baby. It turned around the corner toward the exit. I ran after it. Outside, the baby slipped under the perimeter wire. I ran after it. Before it disappeared behind a rock, it turned and looked at me and smiled. Something stirred deep inside me. My blood ran hot. I was watching that baby smile from behind the wire when someone tapped my shoulder from behind. I nearly leaped out of my skin. The corporal had been watching me. "Where are you staring, Tyler?" he said. "Corporal, didn't you see the baby?" I said. "What baby?" "Man, are you sick?" he said. "No, Corporal. I swear there was a baby. Why would I run all the way here?" I said. "Go get in your warm bunk before you start seeing things," he said. I went straight to my bunk, but I couldn't sleep. Was the baby a hallucination? Or had I actually lost my mind? Whatever it was, I told myself, tomorrow's another day. Next morning after formation, everyone was talking about me. Thanks to the corporal spreading the word. At least the officers didn't know. Yet, everyone was giving me strange looks and keeping their distance. That night, they put me on a 9 at night shift again, but this time with a buddy at the rear most post. After chatting with my partner for a bit, we both got back to business. I didn't mention the baby, but after a while, there it was again, hopping and bouncing right in front of me, doing its little mischievous antics. The air was bitterly cold, and the baby had on just a thin, torn sweater. I glanced at my partner. He saw nothing. The baby was right there in front of us. It was impossible that he couldn't see it. Apparently only I could. After a while it wandered off without ever looking our way and disappeared. If I'd been alone on this shift, I definitely would have called out to it. It was the closest it had come. When our shift ended and we returned to the barracks, I decided to start keeping a log of everything I'd seen. I grabbed the small notepad we'd been issued and began writing down each encounter, day by day. It always appeared somehow, yet no one else at the base could see it. Was I supposed to feel sorry about that, or relieved? I couldn't decide. About 10 days later, while I was sleeping in my bunk, something touched my cheek, like a soft little hand. I woke up immediately. When I opened my eyes, the baby was right there in front of me. I wasn't afraid of it anymore. It had touched me. I had felt something warm. It was smiling. When I woke up, it started backing away. I threw off my blanket and chased after it. It headed outside, slipped under the wire, and ran toward the rocks. Then it stopped and turned back to look at me. I wanted to follow, but the wire was thick and densely coiled with barbs. A little further along there was a small gap. I managed to dig under and squeeze through. I ran toward the baby. Just as I was about to reach it, it ducked behind a rock. When I got to the rock, it was gone. I looked around, but nothing. I turned to head back, and suddenly a woman appeared before me. Her face was shredded, and she had no arms. She looked so horrifying that I began to scream. I ran screaming at the top of my lungs. Just as I was about to hit the wire, I turned around. She was still standing there, staring at me. Suddenly I found myself in the middle of my teammates, both of them grabbing my arms. "You were having a nightmare? Tyler," you screamed so loud the whole barracks is awake. The corporal came running. "What happened?" "In your dream, did the baby scare you?" I was still shaking with fear. It took a while to pull myself together. One of the guys who calmed me down got me some water. I looked at my hands, dirt under my fingernails. I quickly tucked my hands between my knees. "What's going on, Tyler? Tell us what you've been going through." I said that ever since my night shifts started, I'd been seeing the same baby in my dreams, and now it was showing up while I was awake too. "I know everyone's been talking about me, but I don't know what to do," I said. "Want me to talk to the CO? Maybe get you a change of scenery for a bit?" My body said. "No, if we do that, they'll think I'm faking it to get out of duty," I said. "Let me sit with this a while longer." After everyone went back to sleep, I went to wash my hands. Just as I was leaving the bathroom, the woman appeared. She materialized right in front of me. My heart felt like it would burst from my chest. She just stood there, doing nothing, staring at me. My legs went to jelly with fear. I was about to black out when she vanished. I was soaked in cold sweat. I went back to my bunk, but couldn't sleep till morning. When I woke, the sheets were drenched. I changed and went to formation. The woman from my dream was occupying my mind constantly, and the dirt under my nails. Questions I couldn't answer kept swirling. Was she going to appear in the bathroom again? Had she fixated on me? Next day at the base, everyone avoided me. "Don't engage. He's unpredictable," they were saying. Some thought I was doing it on purpose. The night's events had reached one of our officers, who told the base commander. Commander Rayburn called me into his office. I reported in. He asked me why I was behaving this way. "I'm having a little trouble adjusting, Commander. I'll get used to it quickly. I have no intention of leaving or running from this place," I said. "Glad to hear that," he said. "I know how tough this duty is, but I need full concentration at your posts and all other duty stations," he said. Yes, Commander, I said, and left. I had to be more careful now. Over the next week, I saw the baby a few more times at my posts, but pretended not to. It came to me once in a dream, pointing towards something. It was pointing at what looked like a rocky crevice. A week later, I was sleeping in my bunk and dreaming again. This time it was a firefight with insurgents, the kind of nightmare the environment puts in your head. In my dream, an insurgent fired a rocket-propelled grenade at the base, and then a massive explosion shook the whole outpost. For real. I jumped out of my bunk. Soldiers and officers were shouting, "Ambush! Get to your positions!" The voices merged into chaos. Soldiers at the guard posts had already opened fire. I grabbed my vest and rifle and ran. I took a few rounds at the door, then burst out and dove into a fighting position. I started engaging the direction of incoming fire. A rocket flew over our heads and hit the base. "Everyone out," an officer was shouting. Our position had taken a direct hit. They fired the rocket and immediately relocated. In the middle of all this, that baby appeared, right there in the firefight, bouncing and hopping, looking left and right. I started screaming, "Run! Get out of there!" But it couldn't hear me. Some insurgents were advancing toward the base, heading straight toward the baby. I couldn't take it anymore. I burst out of my position and ran toward the child. My teammates screamed, "What are you doing?" "Get down," an officer from behind shouted. "Soldier, get down!" Get back in position now. But I couldn't leave that baby in the middle of a firefight. It had smiled at me. It had touched my cheek. Just as I was almost to it, a bullet hit my left leg. The pain was so intense it felt like my leg had been ripped off. While I lay there, I saw the woman again in a vision. Her face still bloody, that terrifying stare. With her one arm she grabbed the baby's hand and walked away. As they left, the baby turned back and smiled at me one more time. Then it pointed toward something, toward the rocky crevice from my dream. Even half conscious, I understood this was my last chance to survive. I dragged myself to that crevice. It was a perfect firing position. I pointed my rifle outward and began picking off insurgents advancing on the base one by one. Some of them stopped, trying to figure out where the fire was coming from. I waited. Anyone who served knows that at night, a muzzle flash traces the bullet like an arrow back to its source. By pausing, I kept my position hidden. When the fire from the base intensified, I rejoined the assault. The insurgents, thinking they'd been flanked, pulled back and disappeared into the mountains. After a while, I blacked out. When the sun rose, they finally found me. I remember being loaded onto a stretcher and medivaced. I heard an officer say, "He's lost a lot of blood." When I opened my eyes again, I was in a hospital. After a long surgery and recovery, I went through physical therapy and learned to walk again. My base commander came to visit me in the hospital. "Get well soon," he said. "If you hadn't done what you did, we probably would have taken a lot more casualties. Unfortunately, you've paid a price, but you've earned the Purple Heart," he said. "I'll wear it with honor, Commander," I said. "But I need you to see the psychiatrist," he said. "Why, Commander?" I asked. "What you went through isn't easy. I can't send you home like this," he said. I understood. "Yes, Commander," I said. The next day, I went to meet with a major who had psychiatry on his door. He asked me to tell him everything that had happened and why I'd run out into the open. I figured the commander had already told him most of it, so I tried to explain without going into the baby details. But it turned out the commander had given him my journal. I told him everything I'd seen from the beginning. There was no reason left to hide it. They'd probably send me home anyway. I couldn't serve with this leg anymore. I told him about the baby, the woman, the dreams, all of it. The major thought for a long time. He closed his notepad and looked at me. You know, he said, 3 years ago, another soldier came to me saying he'd seen the same baby. I did some research back then. In 1994, your outpost was hit in a large-scale ambush. 5 soldiers were killed. The base went to maximum security lockdown. Anything moving in the vicinity was treated as a threat. Around that time, intelligence came in that a suicide bomber was planning an attack on the base. In a nearby village, a woman had been assaulted. In a daze, she walked about 3 miles to the base with her baby in her arms. When she approached in that disoriented state, the soldiers on high alert took her for the suicide bomber. When she failed to respond to stop commands, they fired a rocket at her. The baby was thrown from her arms and landed behind a rock. The woman was blown apart. My skin was crawling as he said this. I breathed deeply and listened, feeling my heart hammering against my ribs. And you know what? The major continued. That baby was never found. I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. That baby who smiled at me, who bounced and played around the base, who slipped into the barracks and stroked my cheek. Even after almost 2 decades, that baby was still out there running and playing just the same. Why did it appear only to that one soldier and then to me? That mystery remains unsolved. I still call the base commander assigned there from time to time, and every time I ask, has anyone there seen a baby wandering around? The commanders probably think I've lost my mind, but what happened is a truth known only between the military hospital psychiatrist and me.